Good day, mate. My name is Kalvario Bolang. You can call me Kalva. That is the second time I'm saying good day, mate, in my channel. Anyways, welcome. I must be wondering if you're here in my video because you're traveling to Australia soon, or maybe you're my classmates, or you're Miss Han. Hello, Miss Han. I hope you give me good grades. Anyways, I will be your travel guide to Australia. I will introduce you to everything in Australia, whatever you need to know about Australia, the introduction, travel documents, travel regulation, and even do's and don'ts. So sit back and relax and enjoy this video. So Australia is officially of the Commonwealth of Australia, is a sovereign country comprising the mainland of Australia continent and the island of Tasmania and numerous small islands with an area of more than 7 million square kilometers. Australia is the largest country by area in Oceania and is the world's sixth largest country. Australia is the oldest, the flattest, the driest inhabited continent with the least fertile soils. But it is a mega diverse country, and its size gives a wide variety of landscapes and climates, with a desert in the center, the tropical rainforest in the northeast, and mountain ranges in the southeast. Because of the continent's great age, extremely variable weather patterns, and long-term geographic isolation, much of Australia's biotas is unique. About 85% of flowering plants, 84% of mammals, more than 45% of birds, and 89% of inshore temperate zone fish are endemic. Australia has at least 755 species of reptiles, more than any countries around the world. Koalas, kangaroos, wallaby, wombats, quokkas, emus, and Tasmanian devils. Yes, they are real. Australia is a home to diversity of culture, a result of history of immigration. Since 1788, Australian culture has primarily been a Western culture strongly influenced by early Anglo-Celtics and settlers. Other influences include Australia's Aboriginal cultures, the tradition brought to the country by wave of immigration from around the world, and the culture of the United States. Australian indigenous people have beliefs unique to each mob or tribe and have a strong connection to the land. Contemporary indigenous Australian beliefs are complex mixture varying by region and individual across the continent. They are shaped by traditional beliefs, the disruption of colonization, religions brought by the continent by Europeans, and contemporary issues. Okay, so travel destination. I will give you three travel destinations. The first one is the Great Barrier Reef. Of course, you have not gone to Australia if you haven't visited the Great Barrier Reef. Great Barrier Reef is the world's largest coral reef system, composed of over 2,900 individual reefs and 900 islands. The reef is located in the Coral Sea off the coast of Queensland in Australia. The Great Barrier Reef can be seen even from the outer space and is the world's biggest single structure made by living organisms. Oh, and the second travel destination is Uluru. Uluru, known as Ayers Rock, is a large sandstone formation in the center of Australia. It is the southern part of Northern Territory. Uluru is sacred to Pitjantjatjara, the Aboriginal people of the area, known as the Anangu. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. The third travel destination is, of course, the Sydney Opera House, which is a multi-venue performing arts center in Sydney. Located on the foreshore of Sydney Harbour, it is widely regarded as one of the most famous and distinctive buildings and a masterpiece of 20th century architecture. Okay, so moving on to the travel preparation to Australia. Okay, we're getting exciting. So I'm going to inform you and explain you the necessary travel documents and their details. So the travel documents that you need to prepare is passport, visa, and IPC or incoming passenger card. All passengers other than Australia and New Zealand citizens, check that, Australia and New Zealand citizens need to present the following documents to officer in immigration clearance, which is a valid passport, a valid visa, and a completed and signed incoming passenger card. So, uh, a passport is what your identity card is in the around the world in the international terms. So to make a passport in Indonesia, you need your identity card, which is KTP. You need your kartu keluarga or family card, and also your birth sign certificate or birth kartu akte kelahiran. And a visa is a conditional authorization granted by a polity to a foreigner that allows them to enter, remain within, or leave its territory. Visas typically include limits on duration of foreigner stays, areas within the country they may enter, the dates they may enter, the number of permitted visits, and or the individual has the ability to work in the country in question, yes or not. So the last travel preparation to Australia is incoming passenger card, IPC. Maybe you know passports and visa, but what is IPC? So IPC is when passenger arriving in Australia, they are required under Australian law to identify themselves and provide certain information through the completion of passenger card. So a passenger card is a document providing passenger identification and an effective record of persons' entries to Australia. An incoming passenger card is to be completed by the passenger entering Australia. Now let's go to travel regulations in Australia because there are so many regulations in Australia. There is so strict, which is good for them, I guess. So there are many items are restricted or prohibited and cannot be carried by you as a traveler on to entry into Australia. So first is the carry-on limits. There are limits on powders, liquids, aerosols, and gels you can carry on board on the airplane. The limits are the liquids, aerosols, and or gels in container with the maximum capacity of 100 milliliter each. And the second one is the inorganic powders less than 350 milliliters or 350 grams per person. There are also biosecurity requirements, which is that Australia has the strict requirements on the food, plants, materials, or animal products that can enter or leave the country. There are some cases where Indonesia they bring rendang to Australia, and yes, the security check them. You can learn about those requirements of the on the following websites of Department of Agriculture and Water Resource of Australia and also the Department of Environment and Energy of Australia. Also, the latest update from September 9th, 2022, masks are no longer required on flights traveling to Australia. And also from July 6, 2022, the way you travel to and from Australia has changed. All travelers should aware that people entering Australia do not need to provide evidence of vaccination status. Also, people entering Australia do not need to complete the digital passenger declaration or maritime travel declaration, which are very much needed to be signed before the pandemic era. And also, people leaving Australia will not be asked to provide evidence of their vaccination status. And unvaccinated visa holders do not need travel exemption to Australia. It is important to remember that airlines, vessel operators, and other countries may have specific requirements that travelers need to comply with. Which is why I'm here to tell you about the customs declared by Airways. Okay, so Qantas Airways is the domestic airways in Australia and can travel internationally, and it is mostly used for people international going into Australia. So the Australian Department of Immigration and Border Protection manages to the movement of goods and people across the Australian borders, while each state and territory enforce their own local quarantine restriction. Restrictions apply to goods and currency that you can bring into and take out of Australia. Bringing items to Australia, what you can and can't bring in Australia, you must declare. So first, you need to declare your cash before you travel. If you're carrying more than 10,000 Australian dollar in cash or foreign country equivalents on your international trip, you must declare it. Duty-free limits apply to all travelers in Australia too. Also, Qantas by baggage customs. So in Qantas, there are baggage customs. The acceptance of your baggage is the subject to compliance with their conditions of carriage, applicable size and weight limits, applicable laws and security measures, including those imposed by airports and also dangerous goods carriage. So to note that even if your baggage meets all the requirements before, they may refuse to carry it if it is not properly and securely packaged. Finally, remember that no single item on of checked baggage can exceed the 32 kilograms, and all cabin baggage must fit under the seat in front of you or in the overhead locker, including musical instruments. Okay, so moving on. This is the last segment. Okay, so what to do and not to do in Australia. There are so many do's and don'ts. Let's start with the don'ts. So first, don't pet the koala. Australia has some unique amount of animals in the world, and many visitors can want to pet a koala, but they can't because there is interest. There, in the interest of animal welfare, there are an NSF government regulation where holding koalas is not permitted. So don't pet the koalas. And the second one is don't tip. They don't tip in Australia. They offer their staff a fair minimum wage, so they don't rely on tips. In saying that, should you want to leave a tip for great service or excellent mean, that is a personal choice. The third one is don't smoke and don't litter. There are so many rules, regulations regarding to smoking. Then, and also they have a slogan, don't be a tosser, and they mean it. Just don't toss your garbage on the ground. And it is also illegal to litter in Australia, and you also can be fined. The last don't is don't climb the Uluru. So I've told you about the Uluru. So while it is currently not illegal to climb Uluru, actually, it is very disrespectful to the traditional Aboriginal custodians of this spiritual site. The Anangu ask a visitor to their land that you respect their wishes, cultures, and law by not climbing Uluru. Effective by 26 October 2019, marking the 34th anniversary of the Uluru handbag, the climb will be closed. Enough said, don't climb the Uluru. Now, let's go to what you need to do in Australia. First, you need to understand Australian road rules. They drive on the left in Australia. Many countries in the world are driving on the right, but in Australia and also in Indonesia, they drive on the left. There are a lot of road rules and regulations in Australia that are very strictly enforced, probably more than most other countries. So generally, they walk on the left of the footpath, and if you ride an escalator, stand on the left side, leaving the right side for the people to pass you. The second deuce is slip, slop, slap, slick, and slide. What is that? The sun can be harsh in Australia, and the Cancer Council has an ongoing campaign to keep people protected. So, slip a shirt, slop a 30 plus SPF sunscreen, slap a hat, a seat shade or shelter, slide on some sunnies or sunglasses. So that is the slip, slop, slap, slick, and slide. The third deuce is learn Australian's language. To learn Australian's language, slangs are so you can be more friendly to people, but you do need to research first on what, where, who, and how you use the slangs. Like the mate slangs, like they mate. Mate is usually used by men's and not women's. So you need to do some research first so you don't look like someone who just traveled first in Australia. So, and the last deuce is to explore Australia. Australia is a big country, so there are so many things to explore. So pack your bags and visit Australia.